Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Careers Podcast. On today's episode, I have a chance to sit down and talk with Leann Streetman. Leann is the Director of Business Services for AmFirst. AmFirst is the sponsor of this podcast. And in this conversation, Leann really answers quite a few of my questions about best practices, financially speaking, for small businesses. I really do believe that many creatives in the Birmingham area are managing their own small business or as freelancers are managing their own financial situations or the situations of their freelance. Many of us know our craft, but not many of us have a lot of experience with finance. And Leann takes some time on this podcast to answer quite a few of my personal questions about best practices or resources regarding financial decisions that many small businesses make. I really am thankful for her taking the time to answer these questions and have this conversation with me, and I'm excited to share with you now. Check it out. Okay, Leann Streetman, thank you so much for joining me on
Yeah,
Creating Creators podcast.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting.
It is.
First of all, let me go ahead and express a huge gratitude to AmFirst in general
Yeah,
and y'all's team because y'all have supported this podcast. I am so thankful for the opportunity to just share the stories of creatives and the fact that y'all have chosen to partner with me in telling those stories. It's just been incredible. So
that's
thank you.
awesome.
Thank the team at AmFirst.
Yeah,
Did I
absolutely.
say Am South earlier?
No.
Okay, sorry. I used to work at AmSouth, so if I accidentally say it, for some reason it cued in my head like, I just said AmSouth,
No, no,
but
no.
okay.
You're good.
All right, Am first.
I do love that our marketing team is finding innovative ways to market. I think that this podcast is obviously a really cool way to do that. So I'm glad that I could be here.
Yeah, I recently saw some of their social content they've been putting out that is very social worthy. You know, they Daniel and his team, Drew and Daniel especially, and then the other people they sort of collaborate with have created some very high level marketing
Absolutely.
content, stuff that is very commercial in every sense of the word as
Yeah.
far as like professionalism. And then there's social content. I think recently I saw something with like the Full House kind of
Yep. That was,
music.
we introduced an employee group in our mortgage services team. They did that to the Full House theme song, which was cute and
Yeah.
creative. My personal favorites lately have been some of our branch teams kinda getting in on the bit. I love that. It's
Yeah.
always a fun way to get us outside of the box.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things you have to take your business serious, but you don't always have to take yourself so serious, if that
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Take the work seriously, but never ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
And be able to have some fun in the workplace because I think there's too many times where work and the environment at work can become negative, and
Absolutely.
that becomes contagious.
Yeah.
But I think also you can combat that with positivity and lightheartedness and fun,
Yep.
and that can be contagious.
It is really cool too. It's
Yeah.
cool to watch. My team, is very anti those social reels, so maybe I can get them on board at some point,
I'm
which is
anti
why you got me from
yeah.
business services.
I am anti-social reels most of the time. I think we should make Daniel do some social
I would
reels.
love that.
Daniel and Drew should do some let's go on the record right now, and Daniel and Drew should do some social reels.
Absolutely. Daniel Holmes, you're on tap.
I love it. Okay, so I do have some slides. I try to keep myself on point
Okay.
here, but this is a different episode. Now, I may be wrong, so correct me, please, if I'm
No.
wrong, but I imagine you don't see yourself as somebody that is a creative.
No. I think that sometimes I find creative ways to make our members' loan request work, but
Yeah.
that would be the extent of it.
Well, I like that.
Yeah,
Creativity is always needed in across all types of
for
work.
sure. Yeah.
But,
But no, I'm
yeah,
not very creative, not super crafty.
well, I'm sure you are, but professionally, you don't do creative work in the sense of like art or content creation or video or
No.
photography or film or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I get to, read a lot of tax returns and
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's super fun.
Maybe the antithesis of creatives.
It is,
Um,
literally, yeah.
but I wanted to have I was excited when Daniel talked with me about having you on because I mentioned to him, I was like, "Is there someone that we could potentially bring on that, from the AmFirst team to sort of talk about um, something regarding AmFirst?"
Yeah.
And he mentioned specifically your department.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a small business.
Yes.
You're working in sort of like the business and small business kind of arena. I think a lot of creatives are dealing with running and managing their own small businesses, whether
Absolutely.
they're an actual business they've set up or whether they're a freelancer. There's so many pieces of that that's navigated similar to a business.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really great opportunity for us to talk and hopefully bring some information and tips to the community that I think
Absolutely.
would be very helpful. So
Yeah. I love that.
I appreciate you taking the time and talking to me
Thanks.
today.
Glad
All
to
right,
be
so
here.
let's get into the details of you. Who is Leann Streetman? What are you seeing here that
First
you're
of all, where did you find these?
nobody ever remembers what they post
My
on Facebook.
God. Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Yeah.
which
So I
which one
played
strikes
sports
you?
growing up. That is hilarious. I don't think I've seen that picture in 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I played sports growing up my whole life. I think that that gave me a lot of leadership skill that I have obviously translated into my long-term career at AmFirst. I love the teams that I get to be a part of at work. That was our lending team at a retirement party. And then also love to travel. And that last picture is definitely on a trip somewhere.
So tell me a little bit first of where you grew up, and also tell me how you got involved initially in AmFirst.
Yeah. Grew up in a tiny town called Bayview. I graduated from minor high school which is in Adamsville, in 2003, which feels like a lifetime ago. I graduated and I was kind of, I guess, on the fence about next steps. And my dad knew the branch manager at our Hueytown. Now I say our at the America's First in Hueytown, and he encouraged me to apply. She had been a lifelong family friend, so I did. I applied for a part-time teller position and got it, and that was June 1st of 2003, so very long time ago.
Yeah. Tell me this, is Hueytown like a really it seems like Hueytown and America's First has like this long-standing history that seems to be more entwined
Like
with
a
it.
feeder almost.
Something like that because, like, I know when I grew up in Hueytown, my
Mhm.
wife grew up in Minor. She worked at AmFirst as a float teller. My brother-in-law worked at AmFirst, I think, in Hueytown as a
That's
teller.
amazing, I didn't know that.
We'll
Okay.
we'll get in later about other
Yes.
family members that have a little bit longer history with AmFirst, but it's like I just felt like it was always present. I know even the video we were talking about earlier, somebody I went to school was featured on it.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's like constantly I'm seeing Hueytown and AmFirst. Of course, now I see a lot of Shelby County and AmFirst. So
It
it
does
seems
feel like the location has switched a little, in terms of what I would consider like a feeder group.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, back then we had a ton of employees that came from Hueytown, Bessemer area. And honestly, those ended up being some long-term leadership positions at now AmFirst. Back then it was I say back then, but it
yeah,
was America's First. I think that it just spoke to the culture at that branch specifically and the fact that people genuinely wanted to be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many incredible people. I mean, back then it seemed like you went into the branch a lot more than we
Absolutely.
do
We didn't
now.
have, remote deposit and
Right. Yes. No, no. If you wanted to cash that check, you had to
you had
go
to
in. Yeah.
drive there, yeah.
But I mean, I remember so many times going into the one in Hueytown and the one over near the 10, not 10 mil, the
Oh, like
pipe shop,
yeah,
next to the
US
pipe
Pipe.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of those, I would go in all the time.
Yeah.
And it was always like you'd see the same people. There was one lady, I actually went to high school with her daughter. Her name was Karen Heron.
Sharon Heron.
Sharon Aaron, that was it,
Yes.
Sharon Aaron.
Yes.
Sharon was I mean, again, I went to school with her daughter,
Yep.
like, it always felt
She
like
retired from there a few years back.
really
Yeah,
yeah, it always felt like family more
it
so
was.
than just a business.
And I think we are much larger now than we were then, but I do think that one thing that has remained the same is that it is a family atmosphere. We genuinely want people to feel included. I had a new team member join, it's been about a month now, and that's one thing that he has said recurringly is, "Man, it really does feel like a family." Like, I don't feel like an outsider off the street, and I've only been here, less than a month. So, that part is really cool to me, and I hope no matter how large we continue to get, that it stays the same.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna jump ahead here because I feel like the slides may have something regarding this later, but, Kevin,
Yes.
Morris, right?
Yes.
Kevin is one he's now is he
He's our CEO.
CEO's the
Mhm.
title? I wasn't sure what the official title was, but he's the CEO of AmFirst, so the highest level you can
Yes,
be, I would
absolutely.
assume.
We only have 1.
Right, and he is I remember meeting him and not knowing who he was.
Mhm.
And really ultimately when I found out who he was, it surprised me how comfortable of a meeting it was when I
I bet.
met him
Yeah.
because he's so personable, he's so casual, um, in every way professional, but just really approachable. I think
Yeah.
that's probably the best term that I can give him is he's so approachable.
Yeah.
How do you see that in from your perspective as working, in the company under his leadership?
Absolutely. I started reporting to him in 2019 when he was our chief lending officer. So I feel like the lending team specifically does probably have a different perceptive about. Are we going to edit this? Okay.
Perception. No,
Perception.
we're gonna use that entirely.
God. We probably have a better perception of that approachability because we've all reported to him for so long. And then obviously now he's the CEO. So that has changed a little bit in terms of us going to him for things. But yeah, I think that his approachability is by far his most endearing quality.
Yeah, he's incredible. I got a chance to interview him for the Shelby County Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice.
We were inducting somebody that he knew really well. I think a couple of people he knew really well, but even then, welcoming me into his office, talking to me so candidly and
Yeah.
casually, and that was after, like I said, I had met him before, and he, it wasn't even like I don't know. Sometimes you think of meeting a CEO of a credit union or a bank or somebody like that, and you think like
So intimidating.
I feel like it's gonna come with an announcement
It
whenever you
could.
meet
Yeah.
them. You know what I
Very
mean?
well.
Like,
Yeah.
almost like trumpets, red carpet, that kinda that's it
Definitely no fanfare with
yeah,
him.
that
He's
is
like,
not
I'm
him at
Kevin.
all.
You know,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Such a laid back guy and
Yeah.
such a friendly person and a real community member. He is, he's currently on the Shelby County Commission,
Hmm. Yeah.
I saw recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he really seems to be like a staple
Yeah.
in the Shelby County community. I think he lives in Columbiana area?
I think so. He also encourages that community involvement from top down. So that is, I would say, not a written expectation, but we do need to be active members of the communities that we're serving. So that is definitely encouraged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've been thoroughly impressed from the time I was 15 years old
I
and
love that.
joined, and even to this day,
Yeah.
AmFirst has not disappointed. So, all right, let's talk. We talked a little bit about your journey already, but one let's go ahead and touch on this photo.
Yeah.
So in this photo, this is celebrating a friend that
Yeah.
was leaving, right?
Yeah. So, Ben Teskey and I were drive-through tellers at our Inslee branch. That's how I met him. And we honestly just became good friends. And then both of our careers transitioned into more of leadership roles, but always kept in touch. And I was definitely excited for him and Amy and their brood of kids.
Brood is a good word. Yeah.
When they moved, but it was a little bittersweet because you're losing, someone that you've literally been in the trenches with, as drive-through tellers and then all the way up through. That's so funny. Yeah, we were, that was his goodbye party when they were moving to Texas.
Yeah, and I see Kevin back there beside him.
Yes.
Yeah, Ben, for the audience that may not know, Ben is actually my cousin.
Yes.
I don't know, probably you seem to think you see some similarities,
Oh,
some
absolutely. Yeah.
resemblance.
If the
Um,
audience could see that picture, they would probably agree with me.
they can see it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they
That's
can see
even
it. Yeah.
better.
So
Yeah.
if you can see Ben there in the back middle, with the beard, a pencil beard is what I'd call it. But Ben is my cousin. We actually he has a brother named Steven,
Mhm.
and the three of us, my grandmother, she raised like all eight of her
That's
grandkids at the time,
awesome.
and since then, I think I don't even know how many she's got. Especially you start counting the great grandkids. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she was sort of like um, very motherly figure to all
Yeah.
of us, and very influential in our lives. But she carried the three of us around like satchels. I
I
mean,
love
we
that.
were always with her, and we were always together. So we were really close growing up, and everybody thought we were triplets.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And then fast forward to adulthood, I have twins,
Oh,
girls.
wow.
Ben has triplet boys, and Steven has triplet boys.
That's insane.
So all three of us have multiples. I was the first to have multiples. I had the twins, and then they both, which it's always been competitive with us growing up.
They had to have 3.
They've always outdone me in some way or another, Ben especially. But yeah, Ben seemed to have done really well at AmFirst,
Absolutely.
and since then has gone on to Texas and has
Yeah.
done really
He's at a
well.
large credit union in
Yeah,
Texas now. I'm very proud of him. One other thing I'll say is back to the Hueytown connection
yeah,
there. So Ben was a Hueytown kid. The lady to his right, Allison, she still works with us at AmFirst. She manages our indirect team, and she is also a Hueytown kid. And then Alex, standing beside me, is a Pleasant Grove kid. So he was
yeah.
right there with us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's Western Jefferson County.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
I would imagine other communities can probably look at AmFirst and see that as well,
For
which is
sure. Yeah.
probably the beauty of AmFirst and its like integration into all of the communities around Birmingham,
Yeah.
not just Hueytown,
Yeah.
but for 2 Hueytown minor kids, we definitely see the
Definitely.
influence there
That's
and
so
the
funny.
connection, so it's neat. Ben, I'm gonna tell you this one story. Ben is a tough kid,
Okay.
and I think it showed in his toughness as an adult. I mean, first of all, now I think they have five kids?
Yes. Yeah.
So 5 kids, so he outdid me there too. I stopped at 4, he had to do another. But Ben was one of these so resourceful, and maybe you can tell me if this transferred into his work. Um, he was always smaller than me. I think he was 3 months younger than me, but, always, like, significantly smaller. There's photos of us in, like, bassinets next to each other
Yeah.
or pumpkin seats, and I'm, like, hanging over the
That
pumpkin
is
seat.
funny.
I was 10, 14 when I was born,
Okay.
if you that gives you a perspective. Ben was not. And so Ben's, like, little tiny. Well, we grow up together, live on my grandmother's property, or we play there a lot, and, 3 boys, we roughhoused,
Yeah.
and, occasionally that would get out of hand, and one of us would get mad at the other, and I had the size on him, so immediately I'm like, "I'm standing up for myself," and so I would bow up. Well, then Ben wouldn't stop at just bowing up, he would grab something, and I remember this one time, I'm running up the hill at my grandmother's house away from Ben, and all I hear behind me is, "Whoosh, whoosh." He's picked up a tree limb.
Oh my
This thing's
god.
bigger than both of us, and he is swinging it at me.
That's
So, yeah,
amazing.
so that's Ben was very resourceful, very tough
He
and
was the
strong.
same at work.
He chased you with a tree limb?
No, no, no. In terms of resourceful and getting stuff done any way he could, he definitely was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, in your journey, I would imagine people played a large part in you
Absolutely.
getting where you are now. Um, Talk about maybe some of what you saw, especially as you started getting involved in businesses and small businesses. How did that translate from you just initially getting into a branch and working as a teller
Mhm.
to then like into the business
Yeah.
department that you're in now?
So my dad is a self-employed business owner. He always has as long as I can remember. He seeing him build what he has now, I think definitely inspired some of my own small business love. I managed one of our larger market branches from 2014 through 2019, and a lot of the loans I was getting requests on were business loans. Well, we don't, and we still to this day don't process those inside of a branch. Um, and I was always asking questions. Like I just wanted to know as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then I applied for a position that came open in the business lending group because it was still fairly new, and I just felt like I could make a difference in terms of member service and the level of service that we were providing from an internal member standpoint, so to our branch network. And then May of 2019, I went into business lending. I went through like a 3-year school program in Wisconsin that gives you a credit union certification for business lending professionals. I also went on to earn my MBA in 2020. So I just made sure I was equipping myself with the right tools to be able to grow it to the next level. And thankfully, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What well, and I do have some stuff that I wanna talk about. I wanna make sure I stay on point
No,
here,
you're
but
good.
um talk about when you've seen those small businesses first start. And I have to tell you, I'm extremely excited about the rest of this conversation because I am a small business
I know.
owner
Yeah.
effective January 2025.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
just last year I started it. And this year, I've really done more investing into my company.
Yeah.
The studio that we're sitting in is part of that. The equipment you're seeing around us, the furniture, the person behind the board there, Colton. So all of that, I've like, you know, put money into it, but
Yeah.
also, just balancing that income versus expenses,
Yeah.
and then ways where are products that can help me, some of those kind of questions I know I'm going to get into,
Okay.
but we're just from the beginning, if you see that business owner or that person that started a business come in and their first steps in doing something with the credit union,
Mhm.
what does that look like for you? What are some best practices maybe that you would suggest
Yeah.
for people to do when they're first starting?
I think the biggest thing is knowing what you want to do. We have a lot of small businesses who are not sure about the type of formation they should seek out in terms of LLC, sole member proprietorship, that
Right.
sort of thing. So that tends to be the first level of question. And then it becomes, okay, well, how can I get like a working capital line of credit? So I would say the primary majority of our businesses are true small business. So they are sole member LLCs. And most of them keep primary employment with a W-2,
Yeah.
which does make it easier to offer a small working capital line of credit because they still have consistent employment income through the W-2. We can look at situations where that's not happening, but that does obviously make that decision a little bit easier.
When somebody's applying for a loan as a small business,
Mhm.
does that does it always connect to them personally? Like their line, the I guess um, the credit score and things like that. Do you always tie it to the individual? And at what point do you maybe not do that, or is there an
Yeah.
option to not do that?
We do require personal guarantee, unless it is a nonprofit corporation. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's why we keep the water there.
Um, so yeah, we do require personal guarantee unless it is a nonprofit or some sort of like church entity or that sort of thing. Personal guarantee's credit score is a factor, so that's important. And then we obviously do factor in income, overall debts of the business and the consumer, that sort of thing. We want to make sure that globally it qualifies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody is like, I don't even know where to start, where do they need to go if, as far as if they were going to work with AmFirst?
Oh, yeah. We make it easy. It is business@amfirst.org. That is the fastest way to get a reply, the fastest way to get a link to our application process. Everything is on our website. So if you go to www.amfirst.org, you'll also see it there. But the business@amfirst.org email, it comes straight to my team, and there are 5 of us who can easily answer questions or set up a phone call. We even set up branch meetings if someone would rather meet in person to kinda go over options. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think at one point I actually went into a branch and I was like, "What do I do with this?" And
Yes.
they're like, We need to get you on a call with somebody at in the Birmingham branch, so the
Yes.
main office."
Yeah,
So
that's where our business services team is, but we can deploy to a branch if
yeah,
necessary.
that's a good option to know, but it's something that people need to schedule ahead of time if they're going to
Absolutely,
go
yeah.
that
Just
route.
shoot us an email, we'll be glad to come out and meet you at any branch, honestly.
Yeah. Hey guys, let me take just a moment to thank our sponsor, AmFirst. As you know, I've been a member of AmFirst since I was 15 years old. Recently, I opened up my business checking and savings account. Through this week's episode, I learned so many more resources and tools that AmFirst has to offer. If you are a small business owner or maybe looking to start a small business, then I really do encourage you to reach out to AmFirst. Business at amfirst.org is an email address that can really tap you in to so many of the resources they have to offer. Thank you so much to AmFirst for sponsoring this podcast, but even more so, thank you to AmFirst for supporting so many small businesses all across central Alabama and beyond. Now, back to the conversation. Speaking of the downtown branch, it's a beautiful building.
It is, yeah. It's wild that so when I started, it was just that building to the left,
Yeah, the
which was
tower part.
orange.
Oh, was it really? I
Yeah,
don't remember that. Wow.
yeah, America's First bought that in, I think, the '70s. Um,
Orange was a good color in the
it
70s.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, and then now it is a massive campus. It's wild, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building, and I know you're even expanding recently. I saw the
Yeah.
purchase of like a new building that's close, right? You're gonna almost have like a complex around there.
Essentially,
Compound.
yeah,
Maybe compound's a
we
negative
actually had
term.
our first, like, all managers meeting there last month, and
In the new building? Oh,
it's a
cool.
quick walk from the main campus, which is nice, and it was a beautiful day, so why not take the steps?
Yeah,
But yeah, it's beautiful. It's the former Pac Health, so
yeah,
some people may be familiar with that. And I don't know the long-term plans for it, but right now they're building it out and
yeah.
we'll see what happens. It's exciting though, for sure.
Definitely. I've talked with Daniel a little bit, and he seems really excited about it
Oh, I bet
himself.
there's like a green room,
That's what I've
like a
heard.
green screen.
Like a whole studio space. I think
Yes.
there's a whole psych wall in there too that
Yeah. It's pretty neat.
people in the video space and photo space would get really excited
Drew
about
was
that.
very excited. He
I
was
can imagine.
walking and we got to tour it after the managers meeting that day and Drew was very excited.
Yeah,
And so
that's
is
cool.
our training department because they film a lot of
Right.
videos for training purposes. So, yeah,
Well, I'm excited for Drew, especially. He's such a great guy.
he is.
All right, so let's talk about banking relationships. And this is something that, first of all, relationships, as you've already talked about, just friends, coworkers, even family, and so much of that is just so important.
Yeah.
I also hear this phrase like "I've got a guy for that" or "I've got a person for
Yes.
that." It's always nice to have like somebody that you have a history with, that they've sort of proven you can trust them. They've never steered you wrong in the past, that kind of thing. How important do you see that now, and how is that really built in the business space of
Yeah.
banking?
So, my business services manager, her name's Amy. She joined the team during COVID. We did a thing called PPP. If you are a longtime small business owner, you will know that that helped lots of businesses survive. The uncertainty of COVID is probably the best way to put that.
Yeah,
So Amy came on board for a short term. She worked in one of our branches and she was in an additional large market. But we processed almost 700 PPP loans, just the two of us with two other lenders who were not business lenders, but we taught them what they needed to know and got it done. So that was super fun. Um, anyway, so we built a lot of relationships during that process because these were true small businesses who were being turned away from large financial institutions, mainly banks, because they couldn't do smaller PPP amounts.
yeah,
Well, we could. We had fortunately our LOS director had set it up so that we could get these things done within a 24-hour turn. It was wild to think about in hindsight, but we were just rolling, honestly. So a lot of those people still to this day will call Amy or me and be like, "Hey, I need to buy a car or it's time to, I want to buy a building for my business." So that relationship where they remember, "Hey, AmFirst is the one who took a chance on me and gave me $5,000 in a
yeah.
PPP loan. Now I'm going to finance my vehicle or finance my building purchase." So I think that just kinda set the cornerstone for Amy and I to build what we have over the last several years.
Yeah. I mean, I know for my family, my wife and I, we have continued banking with AmFirst from the very get go, and we've had multiple opportunities. I mean, at one point I mentioned earlier, I used to work at Am South,
Yeah, but you
where
didn't move your
I never did. I never did. I think they may have made me set up an account initially
Yeah,
for, like, my paycheck to go into. I didn't work there very long, and I never fully changed over at all. I think
yeah,
now they're regions and that kinda stuff. But anyway, yeah, I never changed over, and we've gone into I mean, all these years of buying cars, we usually buy from dealerships. That's
yeah,
typically the case, and we usually take out a loan because we're those kind of people. And every time it's been like the lowest rate and the preferred lender that a lot of dealerships want to work with around
yeah.
here is AmFirst.
We are fortunate that a lot of dealerships appreciate the reciprocal relationship. We try to be a good lender to them, and obviously they send us their loans. Yeah.
Yeah. Most recently, we went into a dealership, and it was actually for my I believe it was for oh, no, it's for my wife's newest car that she just got, and we went in, and they were preparing everything. We talked with the actual sales guy, and he asked us, like, "Do you have a preferred lender?" And we were like, "Yeah, we wanna go with AmFirst." And we get in, we sit down, we're signing the paperwork, and my wife, she's the detail person. I'm just signing, just trying to get rid of it, and, uh, and so she's like, "Wait a minute, who is this?" And it was some weird name I had never heard of before. And the guy was like, "Well, that's the bank that you're going to be doing your loan through." And we were like, "Well, we told the salesman that we wanted AmFirst." And the guy was like, "Well, but this was a lower rate." And it was, we were like, What's the difference? Like, what
Right.
are we talking here?"
Yeah.
And it was literally like one kind of point or
Yeah.
whatever difference or two at the
Nominal,
most,
basically.
very much so.
Yeah.
Not enough to change over our whole system
Yeah.
because we get log into the app,
Yeah.
we see all of our loans, all of our checking accounts, even our children's checking account now.
Yeah.
We see all of those and we can move things so easily, which I know probably every banking system now with an app has a lot of those same
For sure.
features.
Yeah.
But for us, it was so important to continue with AmFirst. First of all, we've never been given a reason not to.
That's good to hear.
Secondly, we we have it all there already. There's no reason for us to change that over.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's been good.
It really is those stories, though. So we're celebrating our 90th birthday this year, which I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
AmFirst is, not Leann. Uh,
Looking good for 90.
but yeah, we are celebrating our 90th birthday, and a lot of those members love to tell that story, which honestly I think it speaks to who we are and what we do.
Agreed. I mean, just like we were already talking about, it's that integration with the communities,
Yeah,
it's that involvement in the communities, and it's literally a community that has built the credit union.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I've mentioned it on here before, but I just love the story of the origin.
Yes.
And I even saw something recently. I think it was talking about the expansion of the new building or
Yep.
buying that new building. And I think it was saying something like from a cigar box to what was it, like a I can't remember now. It was something like cigar box
25,000 square foot
to a
building.
complex or something. I
Yeah.
forget exactly what it was. Something else, almost like community. It was something like that.
I love that.
But
It's
it
true, though.
was, yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It's really neat the history there and the deep rootedness
Yeah.
of AmFirst. My granddad was a steel worker. I
Oh,
don't know if you've
nice.
heard that.
Okay.
So that's how our family first got it. And both of my granddads, my mom's dad and my dad's dad, both worked at the
That's
steel
really
company.
cool. We just highlighted a family, a multi-generational family, and I asked a friend of mine if she could be in the video because I knew that her dad was a member and her husband and now her kids, obviously, which they're much younger, so they're still in the kids club accounts.
Yeah.
Um, but listening to her dad tell his story, he obviously went with his dad to open his account. They both worked at US Steel. So just hearing that from people and he's now been banking with us for the last 60 years of the 90, which is insane to think about. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear those stories.
Yeah, my granddad, his health is failing, currently, but he is still around, and from what I know, they still bank with
That's
AmFirst as
awesome.
well. So
Yeah.
they may have also banked with some other places.
That's okay.
They they've moved to areas that I don't think AmFirst was at
I
one
gotcha.
point.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I think the relationships and the community connection is just so important, and I think really unique with AmFirst. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about overlooked business tools. And I'm just
Yeah.
curious, are there any? Like, what is something that maybe you know of, being somebody that's you live and work this all the time, maybe underutilized opportunities
Yeah.
with banking or with the credit union, or maybe specific tools that businesses just, and this could be something inside the credit union or just something that you've learned about
Yeah,
through your
absolutely.
experience.
I'll start with AmFirst. I think some of our business products are underutilized. We have a really solid business checking account that we're not currently charging any fees on. And I know from market research that that is rare for a business account.
I'm going to interrupt you just a second. I am still blown away by the idea of a fee, because I've all like I said,
Yeah.
always banked with them first. Never knew that was a thing,
Yeah.
and so
I
there's
get
been
it.
times where even having, like, a debit card, there were fees attached to that,
Yep.
fees attached to a savings account or a checking account. You had the minimum used to we had a minimum long time ago.
Yeah.
I think still there may be, like, a $5
$5.
minimum
Yeah.
to, like, start it maybe,
Yeah.
but yeah, it to me, it blows my mind that there were fees just because I had never experienced that with AmFirst. Sorry
I agree.
to
No, no,
interrupt you,
no.
but
I
yeah.
completely agree. I do think that is one underutilized tool. And then we also offer a really solid business credit card that doesn't have a monthly or an annual fee. If, a business member maybe wants to add an authorized user who uses a company vehicle and may need to put gas in their car, that kind of thing. I think it's just I guess the educational piece, and maybe some of that is on us too, in terms of making sure members are aware. I will say we've done a great job in the last few years to highlight those products and make sure we're really putting them out there so that members are aware. And then obviously, as the business services team has grown, we are making sure that members, if they're applying for one thing, they also know that we offer, a multitude of other services.
Yeah. Are there any other tools maybe outside of AmFirst that you're like, this is just something that I've seen benefits small businesses or big
Yeah,
businesses?
there's a group called the Alabama Small Business Development Center. They host monthly webinars. So if you're a female or minority-owned business or not, they have a plethora of monthly webinars for either. But they will literally walk you through both setting up your business, filing your first tax return, finding a qualified CPA. I think a lot of people assume that they could just continue to file their own taxes, and on an individual level that may be okay, but I think when you get into tricky business tax returns, you probably need to outsource that. But yeah, Small Business Development Center will walk you through all sorts of things via webinar, via a meeting with one of their staff members. It's free to you, so you're not paying anything, but it is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. I I after I started mine, the first year I really didn't have a CPA that I was using. One that I talked with and one that helped me establish it,
Yeah.
but I really wasn't like using on a regular basis. This year I'm using on a regular basis, and the expense is there. Like, it's
Yeah.
a big expense to
Absolutely.
pay a CPA. But the peace of mind
Yeah.
and just knowing that somebody's going to tell you when you're doing something not quite right,
Yes,
or
absolutely.
something that you could do better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that entirely.
And if it's a small business and say you're filing a Schedule C inside of your personal tax return, it may not even have to be like a large firm CPA. You could just find a qualified tax preparer that would take care of that for you that
Yeah.
is proficient in business tax returns.
Has there been a moment where you've seen especially like a newer small business really just flourish
Yeah,
in not just because they were working with you and your team, but you just got that opportunity to be a part of it? Can you
absolutely.
share any
Not
detail of
names,
something like that?
obviously, but, yeah, there I can think of several instances where we kind of just watched them start from the ground up, and maybe their first loan with us back in 2019 or 2020 was like a $5,000 working capital line of credit,
Yeah.
and now they have their first building financed because they were able to follow the right steps, and obviously their business grew during that time as well. So that is absolutely one of my favorite parts. Again, it goes back to my dad being a self-employed business owner and getting to watch his growth through the years while I was also growing up. Um,
Yeah.
Getting to watch that firsthand and they call you, when something good happens or shoot you an email just to say thanks for something, that by far is the best part.
And now I'm gonna ask the opposite end of it and more of, like, maybe why it went this way, if you have any perspective on that, but have you seen businesses that struggled or
Yeah.
businesses that ended up failing? And not necessarily sharing the details for that business, especially no name or anything, but was there lessons that you learned that you could share as in, like, watch out in this regard or don't do this kind
Yeah.
of mistake?
I think that is the unfortunate side. We all want the best for ourselves at any juncture, honestly. Um, you can't get too big too fast though. And that's in any honestly in any facet of life. You can't take on too much consumer debt at any time. You can't in the same token, you can't take on too much business debt when the business growth is not lining up with the debt that you're taking on. We do unfortunately see that happen. We also try to help those members the same and get them to the right people, either via that is through the SBA or maybe we refer them to someone who can coach them through those situations, like a financial advisor, that sort of thing. But yeah, that is definitely the unfortunate part of it.
It sounds like to me, and honestly, like I said earlier, I was excited about this conversation because I feel like I need to learn so much. But it sounds like to me that just reaching out and contacting your
Absolutely.
department is a potential opportunity for any of us as small business owners
Yeah.
to get connected to resources.
Yeah. My another cool thing that we will do, so we do offer some share secured business products for people who want to establish some sort of, business trade line, but maybe they don't have the credit score right yet, or maybe the income is not there, but they do have, say, $1,500 that they could pledge, for a business secured credit card. And then watching that happen and then them pay that over time. And then 2 years later, they have the business tax returns and the business income. That's also really fun to see because when people take your advice and it works out for them, it's like, "Oh, okay, we're doing something right."
Yeah, running the business has been probably one of the hardest things, if
I would
not the
imagine.
hardest thing that I've ever done, and it's that constant battle with money flowing out and money flowing in, like,
Yeah.
most of us, I don't think we're unable to see the math, you know?
Right.
Like, if I pay out 50, I have to have 50 coming in at some
Correct.
point. So most of us know not to commit to paying out, 100 when we only have 50 coming in.
Correct.
The issue is when this 50 comes in or goes out and this 50 is not coming in yet,
Yeah.
that's the real struggle. It's
Yeah.
like it's those I tell people all the time, I've got tons of invoices. I can't pay anything with an invoice, you know what
That's
I mean? Like, I can't
correct.
pay somebody I can't pay for the cost of this lamp or this chair with
Yeah.
an invoice.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
and so that to me is the real challenge that at least I, as a small business owner, am facing. What do you advise people to do in those kind of situations? What tools or
I think
resources
that
do you
goes back
offer?
to just the small working capital line of credit. And I'm not saying everyone doesn't need 30, 40 grand, but if 10 is where your gap is, if say 10,000 is where okay, I can cover up to 10 myself. And then if
Yeah,
I have this $10,000 line of credit that I then pay off once my invoices do
right.
come in for payment, that alone should help you build up the capital that you need to be able to cover the invoices on the front end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we have, like, a line of credit where it's like a equity line
Oh, yeah.
that we sort of, use similar, it's like, "Hey, when we need it, it's there. When we don't need it, it doesn't hurt us at all." Does a small business line of credit work similarly? Is it there, and if you don't need it, then it's not really
Absolutely.
costing you anything,
Yeah.
but if you need it, then you can pull from it, but depending on how long you pull from it, you're gonna have to pay interest on it? Is that the
Correct,
way it
yeah.
works?
So, if say it's 10,000, then that $10,000 limit is available to you until you decide to close it out.
Okay.
And yeah, you can advance it online, you can go into a branch and advance it, basically anytime you need it, truly. So it works as the same way that your home equity line does.
Yeah.
We don't charge any sort of monthly or annual service fees for those. So it's just there when you need it.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, I need to yeah, I need to talk with you about that.
Oh,
Speaking of line of credit, I think that's okay. It's so I prepared these before when we
I
were
love
planning
that.
before, but I do love y'all's branding in general. Like I know y'all recently even done like a refresh of the brand. I feel
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
but the you first was such a great marketing strategy in general.
Yeah.
Kids first. I mean, it was all everything was first. I remember a commercial whereas that word the first word was changing over and over again, but then
Yes.
first, it
Yeah.
just seems like a really great,
And it's true.
the
We
creatives
do.
out there, I'm sure
Oh,
loved it. I
absolutely.
did.
It is cool though. I agree. I think the branding is a lot more consistent now, and I think reminding members that they are the first priority in terms of service, in terms of what we can innovate to offer them,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Just putting that reminder out there that we're here when they need us.
Can you tell me, just because we haven't touched on this and maybe some people may not know, what's the difference between a bank and a credit union?
Credit unions are member owned, member ran. So you mentioned earlier you have to have a shared deposit of $5. That is the initial requirement to be a member of AmFirst, or I would say most credit unions. Um, Ours is a $5 initial deposit that does stay in that share account until you decide to not be a member anymore, or whatever the case may be there. Um, that is literally your ownership of the credit union. We have an annual meeting every year that members are invited to come to and, offer suggestions or voice any concerns that they may have. It's typically in April. So be on the lookout for that. If you are a current and first member, you'll get an email about it with your statement. Um, but yeah, we try to make sure members know, like, hey, we're here for you. This is your credit union as much as it's ours.
And banks, contrary to that, are they usually like
Typically, they have shareholders
yes,
that they're seeking larger profit margins for. We don't have, we're not on the New York Stock Exchange or anything. We're literally here in Alabama. So, I wouldn't say any, but we are not for profit. So, we typically try to return profits to our members in the form of lower fees and lower interest rates on auto loans, like you mentioned
mhm.
earlier, obviously our home equity products, and then also on our business side as well.
Now, what, I had a question and I'm trying to draw it back in. That's always painful when you lose it. Oh, I was gonna ask this. Give me geographically, where in Alabama is AmFirst exactly? I know the hub is here in Birmingham,
Absolutely.
but I'm pretty sure y'all have expanded probably since the '90s when
We
we
have.
yeah,
So we currently have 21 branches, and like you said, they are mostly in the Birmingham metro area. We're about to open a new branch in Coleman, so we basically rebuilt on the same land that our former Coleman branch was on. So the Coleman team has been in a modular unit for probably the last 9 months.
that's rough. I know working in schools, modular classrooms were never something to
Yeah,
celebrate.
they are counting down the days. They are very excited, and it is a beautiful branch. It's right there in the heart of Coleman.
Coleman is so beautiful. Like downtown Coleman
Yeah.
has transitioned majorly.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
kinda wild to see,
it's
but
beautiful.
it's really cool. So they're super excited, and then we have one in Mobile, and then we kind of go out east. So we have Talladega, Oxford, and then we have partnered with Jack State, as you probably know, over the last couple of years. So we're about to open our first branch on Jack State's campus, and then we're going to build an additional branch in Jacksonville this year.
Now, I'm curious, and this is totally side note, and this may bring a no, and that's okay. But I'm curious. I've seen just my experience in schools.
Yeah.
I've seen where banks have actually opened up branches inside of high schools. Have you
Yeah.
seen any of this
I
before?
have. I think that's super cool. I do think there is a missing financial literacy piece for high school students specifically. So my hope is that that's what those branches are doing.
Right.
They're truly like teaching 17, 18-year-old kids how 16, 17, 18-year-old kids how to deposit their payroll check, or I know most places are ACH now, but
Right.
we got to deposit payroll
Yeah.
checks back in the day. So I hope that they're teaching them the basics of financial
From what I
literacy.
understand, oftentimes they partner with business classes where the business classes even almost manage the branch,
Yeah,
it seems. I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. It also sounds a little scary with high school kids that I used to work with,
That's funny.
some adults too, that are managing a branch, but,
My team has been fortunate that we have gotten to go into some trade schools in the area
yeah.
and teach them about opening, a sole member LLC and how to file for an EIN and things that I would say most adults probably can figure out on their own. But if you're 17, 18, and you know that you're going to go into cosmetology and graduate with your license, then we just kind of try to provide that educational piece to tell them how to make that stuff happen.
I mean, I wish we had this conversation, 2
2
years
years ago.
ago. I really do
Yeah.
because, like, so much of that stuff, I had to go off a recommendation of a friend
Yeah.
as to who I should talk with to help me set this stuff up, and it was quite expensive for
It
me to
can
get
be,
that stuff
yeah.
set up through a CPA, which
And what most people don't know is that you can do that yourself. You can file on Alabama Secretary of State yourself. That is typically what we would encourage because it is quite a bit cheaper if you do it that way. You probably know that.
I
Um,
I so I hear, but yeah, I think that kind of stuff, I think that's one reason I was really wanting to do this with you is because, again, so many creatives end up being small business owners.
yeah.
A lot of them work freelance and get paid, various ways, sometimes under the table for a while,
Yeah,
but eventually it's their to their benefit when they can legitimately set up a small business, and it to me, it sounds like there's so many opportunities
absolutely.
in your like, at least connecting with your local credit union
Yeah.
to see, like, can they help me do this? And AmFirst definitely could.
Yeah, absolutely. We
Uh,
would love to help.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm too late to the party, but not too late to still benefit in some other ways. We sort of touched on this earlier, and this is where I sort of kicked myself a little bit. But are there in some of this stuff? Can you see other ways in which people end up making common mistakes? I mean, we talked about already sort of this, like you're biting off more than you can chew
It's
kind of
that.
thing.
It usually is that. And you think about small businesses in your community that you've seen open and then shutter. Either they took on too much too soon, or maybe there was a service issue and that was repetitive, and so people stopped, utilizing their service. It is usually something of that nature. I think that, like I said, we all want to be the very best at whatever it is that we're doing, but that doesn't mean taking everything on at once.
Yeah.
That could mean baby steps for the first 5 years and then you're running. It doesn't always have to be a Fortune 500 overnight.
Agreed,
Yeah,
agreed. I took a pretty big chance with this studio space.
which is beautiful, by
Thank
the way.
well, thank you, and we'll see if it was still too much too soon, but, so far it's been really good. One more thing I wanted to mention about the graphics or logos. I do love still the tie back to the iron and steel.
Me too.
You've got inside the flag is still the original kind
Yeah.
of logo, or at least the reference to the original name, which it was the iron and steel. What was it after that?
It
Was it
was Iron and Steel Workers. So I'm in a management school, that meets June. It's a 3-year program. This is my last year, and our project is an entire look back of the credit union. So
so
this is
you
kind
know
of the
all of
perfect
the
time
history.
for me to do this. Um, but it's been interesting to see, like, when we bought our first building,
Yeah.
and which the first one was in Inslee, and it's still there standing today. It's not our branch anymore, but it's we started as iron and steel workers. I think there were somewhere between 12 and 17 founding members. That is a little bit, I guess,
Debatable.
debatable,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But the word has always been that they put their money into a cigar box. They were, US Steel employees, and so we've kind of, I guess, tried to stay true to that through the years and at least keeping that little insignia in our logo, which I love.
I
We
think it's
actually
great.
just started branding some jewelry for our employees with that on there, so that's been kind of fun to see too.
That's cool.
Everybody's wearing the worm, as we call it.
Is Daniel designing those?
If I had to guess.
I wanna see
No.
Daniel wear one of those.
But yeah, that's been really neat. to not only just learn about that because you hear stuff through the years. Obviously, I've been there a while, but it's been fun to learn about how the name changed throughout the years, and then obviously how much we've grown.
Yeah. I just love, I mean, even in this graphic, you see community first
Yes.
in there. I love that if I was to call a branch, or even if I was to, for some reason, need to call the downtown and try to get as high up in the company as
Yeah.
I could, which would be
People
the
do.
CEO
Yeah.
eventually, probably couldn't get him on the phone immediately, but eventually, although I think I may have Kevin's number actually, but like, eventually I'm still at somebody that's actually a community member. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many businesses that you end up calling to say, "Hey, I've got this question," or "I need help with this," or "I've got a complaint." And you have to fight so hard to get
Yeah.
somebody actually that is in the area, that cares about you or your business or your family or your
Yeah.
community. And it seems like AmFirst, it's not calling some faraway business, it's calling a neighbor, it's
Yeah.
calling somebody that lives
Literally right
right
down
down
the
the
street.
street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts too. I hope we never lose that.
I agree. I agree. Well,
Yeah.
you got to send those people off to Texas like Ben if it gets to that. So, um, these are actually, I think, let me see if this plays. So these are some of the videos that they're doing that are telling the stories of small businesses,
Yeah.
which I think was really neat.
I love
Sounds like the
this.
audio is actually playing. Can we mute that audio? There you go. Um, it's still, I don't think we can mute it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's actually coming through the TV. Um, but I want to know this. Do you have advice for creatives specifically?
Mhm.
Is there anything that if you were talking to maybe somebody like me that started a small business, or somebody that's freelancing right now and they're not really legit, what advice would you have for them if they're looking to do a small business that's creative?
I think it goes back to reaching out to us. We would be happy to help you walk through that process, or at least if it is outside of our wheelhouse and we can't, we would gladly refer you to someone who can. That's one, not going to take advantage of you, and two, that will help you get to where it is that you're wanting your business to grow to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is a lot of businesses probably feel like they just get lost in the shuffle. They're either too small or maybe they're larger than, they intended to be, but truly do try to service any size small business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was neat. This, again, so much of even y'all's ads now that I see, the commercials, and I think this one was from a little while back.
Yeah.
It's all local stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, everything's right here. I mean, even that stadium right now that we're sort of seeing here at the end, that's Oak Mountain High
Yes.
School's football stadium. It's a community,
Yeah,
and y'all are part
absolutely.
of it. And but I agree. I think so many people, myself included, don't know where to go
Mhm.
for advice, and especially if you're you're not, like, raking in the money right now,
Right.
you don't have tons of money to go hire a CPA. I think the first time I talked with my CPA, I had to pay, like, a consulting fee. May have been the second time. I think
Probably.
she
Yeah.
got me the first time, no charge. Second time charged me a consulting fee.
Yeah.
So the idea of being able to go and get on an email or maybe meet y'all in a local branch
If
to
especially if it's just you have questions about how to set things up.
right.
Um, Now I will say we're not ever going to give tax advice. We stay far away from that, and you could probably guess why. Uh, Taxes are complicated and convoluted, and we read them, but we don't file them. So,
And that's probably a good thing to distinguish.
yeah.
You could help point people in directions,
Yes.
maybe educate them in best practices and even
Absolutely.
resources and some things that they're able to do on their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at some point you're going to say,
Here's the professional.
yes,
The
you
tax
need to
professional.
speak to this person, or a person similar to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great advice. All right. I think that's it. I think that's all that I've got as far as our conversation. I'm gonna have that video just keeps playing. The next one is,
That's
"Thank you
funny.
so
Oh,
much for
this was
taking
fun.
the time." Was it? You were
Yeah.
nervous
I was
initially?
nervous. It wasn't bad. I was really nervous when I came in, but it was
I
good.
I love podcasts because it's this. It's
I'm
just
a huge
sitting down.
podcast listener. This is my first time ever being on one, so
Yeah?
I was
Well,
joking with some friends on the way. I was like, "Okay, I'm going to be on a podcast." So yeah, this was really cool. Thanks for having me.
yeah, it was really an honor. Thank you. Thank AmFirst for,
Yes,
again,
absolutely.
just supporting, this community of creatives. I've said so many times, like, just similar to AmFirst, the creatives in this community are so helpful. They're it's not about competition
Yeah.
with creatives in this area. It's about collaboration. It's about networking. Um, so many of them I could literally call on right now and say, "I need help with this."
I love that.
And they wouldn't say, "Well, let me send you an invoice," or, "What can I get out of this?" It's
Yeah,
it's just friends and community members and, just a really beautiful network of
that's really
people.
cool.
And so AmFirst has helped continue that community and share more stories. And so
That's great.
thank you for being a part
Yeah, of
of the
course.
creative, community and now sharing some really helpful tips. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much.
yeah.